What if First Blood wasn't just an action movie, but the beginning of real stories far more dramatic behind the scenes? The actors who once hunted Rambo through the mountains lived lives full of fame, tragedy, and unexpected twists. Join us as we uncover their real names, real ages, and where they are today after more than 40 years. Richard Crenna as Troutman. Richard Crenna was born on November 30th, 1926, in Los Angeles, California, United States. At 56 years old, he played Colonel Samuel Troutman, the military commander who understands the broken soldier John Rambo, in First Blood, 1982. His calm authority anchored the film and gave the story its emotional weight, making Troutman the only man capable of reaching Rambo. His private life also carried its share of emotional turns. Crenna first married Joan Grisham in 1950, but the relationship collapsed within 5 years as his acting career began expanding across radio, television, and films. A second chance at stability came when he married Penny Sweeney in 1957, and the couple stayed together for more than 4 decades while raising their children. Then, illness entered his life. Doctors diagnosed him with thyroid cancer, forcing him into treatment while he was still working in film and television. Crenna recovered and returned to acting, appearing again in projects connected to the Rambo franchise and television dramas. But the fight returned years later, in a far darker form, when pancreatic cancer was discovered. On January 17, 2003, Richard Crenna died in Los Angeles at the age of 76, with heart failure linked to pancreatic cancer listed as the cause. His death closed a remarkable career that stretched from childhood radio programs to major Hollywood films, including the unforgettable role of Colonel Troutman beside Sylvester Stallone. At the time of his passing, Crenna had accumulated an estimated net worth of about $10 million, the financial legacy of a lifetime spent quietly shaping some of the most memorable performances in American film and television. Brian Dennehy as Teasel. Brian Dennehy was born on July 9, 1938, in Bridgeport, Connecticut, United States. At 44 years old, he played Will Teasel, the stubborn small-town sheriff who relentlessly hunts John Rambo, in First Blood, 1982. His intense performance gave the story its central conflict, turning Teasel into the human force that pushed Rambo into the violent spiral that defined the film. But the real storms in Dennehy's life happened at home. He married Judith Sheff in 1959 while serving in the U.S. Marines, and before he even finished college, the couple already had 3 daughters. Fame from films like First Blood and later Cocoon gradually strained the marriage until it ended in divorce in 1987 after nearly 3 decades together. A year later, he remarried Jennifer Arnott, an Australian woman who brought stability back into his life, and together they raised 2 more children. Then illness struck late in life. After decades of physically demanding roles and stage performances, Dennehy's health began weakening as infections repeatedly forced him into treatment. In his final years, the situation worsened when a severe infection triggered sepsis, a dangerous condition that rapidly spreads through the bloodstream and can shut down vital organs. On April 15, 2020, Brian Dennehy died in New Haven, Connecticut, at the age of 81, after suffering cardiac arrest caused by sepsis. He was survived by his wife Jennifer Arnott and his 5 children, including actress Elizabeth Dennehy, leaving behind a legacy that stretched across film, television, and Broadway. By the time of his passing, Dennehy had accumulated an estimated net worth of around $12 million, earned from a career that lasted more than 50 years and turned him into one of the most respected character actors of his generation. Sylvester Stallone as Rambo. Sylvester Stallone was born on July 6, 1946, in New York City, United States. At 36 years old, he played John Rambo, the haunted Vietnam veteran hunted by police in the wilderness, in First Blood, 1982. His raw, explosive performance turned the film into a cultural phenomenon and transformed Rambo into one of the most recognizable action heroes ever created. Yet the battles in his private life were just as brutal. Stallone married Sasha Chak in 1974 and had 2 sons, Sage and Sergio. But fame from Rocky and later Rambo slowly cracked the marriage until it collapsed in 1985. Only months later, he shocked Hollywood by marrying Danish actress Brigitte Nielsen, a whirlwind relationship that burned out in just 2 years amid relentless tabloid chaos. Stability finally came with model Jennifer Flavin, whom he married in 1997 and with whom he raised 3 daughters. But even that marriage nearly shattered in 2022 when Flavin suddenly filed for divorce after 25 years together, forcing Stallone to publicly fight for the family he feared losing. While his marriages struggled, his body was also paying the price for the films that made him famous. During the filming of Rocky IV, Stallone asked Dolph Lundgren to hit him for real in a fight scene. The punch was so powerful he was rushed to intensive care for 4 days with a swollen heart. Years later, filming The Expendables, he broke his neck during a fight scene with Steve Austin and required surgery that left a metal plate in his spine. Even earlier, while filming Escape to Victory, he shattered a finger attempting to block a penalty kick from soccer legend Pelé. Each injury pushed him closer to permanent damage, yet Stallone kept returning to physically punishing roles that few actors would dare attempt. As of 2026, Sylvester Stallone is 80 years old and still one of the most recognizable figures in Hollywood. He continues producing films, occasionally appearing on screen and spending more time with Jennifer Flavin and their daughters after surviving decades of chaos, injuries, and family heartbreak. The man, once rejected for his voice and appearance, ultimately built an empire from franchises like Rocky, Rambo, and The Expendables, leaving him with an estimated net worth of about $400 million. Bill McKinney as Kern. Bill McKinney was born on September 12, 1931, in Chattanooga, Tennessee, United States. At 51 years old, he played Kern, one of the brutal deputies under Sheriff Teasle in First Blood, 1982. Though his role was smaller, his cold and aggressive presence added to the film's tension, reinforcing the cruelty that pushed Rambo to the breaking point. McKinney's personal life was far more chaotic than many fans realized. He married several times, including relationships with Felicity June Bach, Janelle Booth, and later Donna LaManna and Norma Shannon. But none of the marriages lasted. The constant instability mirrored the dark characters he often portrayed on screen. McKinney struggled to maintain steady relationships, raising his son Clinton McKinney while juggling an unpredictable acting career. Health problems arrived quietly but proved devastating. Years of work in demanding film environments did little to slow him down, and he continued acting well into old age, even appearing in films like The Green Mile and Back to the Future Part 3. But behind the scenes, doctors eventually diagnosed him with esophageal cancer, an aggressive disease that gradually weakened him as it spread through his body during his later years. On December 1, 2011, Bill McKinney died in San Fernando, California, at the age of 80 after battling esophageal cancer. Despite decades in film and television, McKinney lived far more modestly than many Hollywood actors, leaving behind an estimated net worth of about $1 million, built largely from supporting roles that nevertheless helped define some unforgettable movies. Jack Starrett as Galt. Jack Starrett was born on November 2, 1936, in Refugio, Texas, United States. At 46 years old, he played Galt, the cruel deputy who humiliates and provokes John Rambo, in First Blood, 1982. His vicious portrayal ignited one of the film's most explosive moments, pushing Rambo from silent suffering into open war against the town. But away from the camera, Starrett's life was unraveling in ways far darker than any role he played. He married Valerie Starrett, a soap opera actress, and they had a daughter, Jennifer Starrett. Yet the relationship collapsed after years of pressure from Hollywood's unstable lifestyle. A later marriage to Karen M. Foreman also ended in divorce, leaving Starrett increasingly isolated. The tough characters he portrayed on screen began to mirror the chaos in his own life. Alcohol soon became his constant companion. As his directing career faded and acting roles slowed after films like The River, Starrett's drinking spiraled out of control. The addiction quietly destroyed his health, placing relentless strain on his organs until his kidneys began to fail. On March 27, 1989, Jack Starrett died in Sherman Oaks, California, at the age of 52 after suffering kidney failure linked to years of alcoholism. His death shocked many in the film community because it came suddenly and far too early for a man still active in the industry. Though his career included acting, directing, and television work, Starrett lived far from Hollywood luxury, leaving behind an estimated net worth of about $500,000, a modest legacy for a performer whose fierce screen presence helped define some unforgettable films. Michael Talbott as Balford. Michael Talbott was born on February 2, 1955 in Waverly, Iowa, United States. At 27 years old, he played Deputy Balford, the nervous young officer caught in Sheriff Teasel's pursuit of Rambo in First Blood, 1982. His brief but memorable role added tension to the escalating conflict, showing how quickly ordinary officers were dragged into the chaos surrounding Rambo. Talbott's life away from the film set was far quieter than many of his co-stars. He eventually married and built a private family life while navigating the uncertain world of television acting. His career suddenly surged when he landed the role of Detective Stanley Switek in the hit crime series Miami Vice, 1984 to 1989, a show that turned him into a recognizable face on American television. Around the same time, he appeared in films like National Lampoon's Vacation, proving he could shift between drama and comedy even if Hollywood never made him a leading man. Unlike many actors from the era, Talbott avoided major health scandals or destructive addictions that often haunted the industry. Instead, he focused on steady work and personal interests, appearing in television series such as MASH, and later collaborating with media companies connected to firearms and tactical training. While the spotlight faded after the end of Miami Vice, Talbott maintained a steady connection to fans and continued participating in projects related to the entertainment and firearms communities. As of 2026, Michael Talbott is 71 years old and lives quietly in Waverly, Iowa, the same town where he was born. After decades in television and film, he spends much of his time away from Hollywood while occasionally appearing at fan events connected to Miami Vice and classic 1980s cinema. His long career in television has earned him an estimated net worth of about $2 million, a testament to a working actor who built a lasting place in pop culture without chasing the chaos of celebrity life. Chris Mulkey as Ward. Chris Mulkey was born on May 3, 1948, in Viroqua, Wisconsin, United States. At 34 years old, he played Ward, one of the tense deputies caught in the manhunt for Rambo, in First Blood, 1982. His performance helped build the atmosphere of fear and confusion surrounding the small-town police force as the situation spiraled out of control. But Mulkey's private life carried its own emotional storms. He first married Lorraine M. Smith in 1972, yet the relationship ended in divorce in 1978, while he was still struggling to establish himself as an actor. Stability seemed possible when he married actress and artist Karen Landry in 1981, and the two even collaborated creatively, writing and starring together in the independent film Patty Rocks, which later won a jury prize at Sundance. Yet behind the artistic partnership was a life filled with long work hours and constant financial pressure, while Mulkey tried to keep his career moving with roles in projects like Twin Peaks and Boardwalk Empire. The most devastating blow came years later, when Karen Landry's health collapsed. Mulkey watched his wife battle serious illness for years while he continued working in films such as Captain Phillips and The Purge, trying to balance his career with the reality of caring for a declining partner. When Landry died on December 31, 2015, the loss shattered him emotionally, ending a marriage that had lasted more than 3 decades and leaving him to raise their daughters while continuing his acting career. As of 2026, Chris Mulkey is 78 years old and still active in the entertainment world. He continues acting in film and television while also performing music with his band, appearing at events and festivals across the United States. After decades in Hollywood, including appearances in productions like Whiplash and Better Call Saul, Mulkey has built an estimated net worth of about $4 million, the result of a long career as one of Hollywood's most reliable character actors. John McLiam as Orville. John McLiam was born on January 24, 1918, in Alberta, Canada. At 64 years old, he played Orville, the quiet helicopter pilot drawn into the escalating hunt for RAMBO, in First Blood, 1982. His brief role carried shocking consequences for the story, helping trigger one of the film's earliest tragedies. Behind the camera, McLiam lived a life shaped by discipline and long dedication to acting. He married Roberta Williams, and the couple built a stable family life while he quietly worked through dozens of film and television roles. His career stretched across productions such as My Fair Lady, In Cold Blood, and The Missouri Breaks. Even when Hollywood rarely placed him in leading roles, McLiam remained constantly employed across stage, television, and film. Then, illness began to tighten its grip. McLiam developed Parkinson's disease, a degenerative condition that gradually weakened his movement and energy. As the disease progressed, doctors also discovered skin cancer, forcing him to undergo repeated treatments while he tried to continue acting in television appearances and film projects. The combination of both illnesses slowly eroded his health during the final years of his life. On April 16, 1994, John McLiam died in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, at the age of 76 after complications from melanoma skin cancer and Parkinson's disease. He was later laid to rest at Santa Barbara Cemetery in California, where his grave remains a quiet reminder of a career spent mostly in supporting roles that, nevertheless, shaped many memorable films. At the time of his passing, McLiam had an estimated net worth of about $1 million, earned from decades of steady work across film, television, and theater. Alf Humphreys as Lester. Alf Humphreys was born on August 9, 1953, in Haileybury, Ontario, Canada. At 29 years old, he played Deputy Lester, the young officer caught in Sheriff Teasel's violent hunt for RAMBO, in First Blood, 1982. Though his role was brief, his character helped show how quickly fear and aggression spread through the entire police department during the manhunt. His life away from the camera was far calmer, but still marked by personal responsibility. Humphreys married Elizabeth Moss, and together they built a blended family with 3 children, Kess, Kiraston, and Ainsley. While raising his family, he continued accepting steady supporting roles in films such as My Bloody Valentine and later the blockbuster X2, X-Men United, quietly building a reputation as a dependable character actor who could appear in horror, drama, or television without chasing fame. Then came the illness that changed everything. Humphreys was diagnosed with brain cancer, a devastating condition that slowly weakened him while he was still active in the industry. Even after appearing in projects like Diary of a Wimpy Kid and television roles on shows such as The X-Files, the disease advanced aggressively, forcing him to withdraw from acting as treatments and hospital visits became part of daily life. On January 31, 2018, Alf Humphreys died in Stratford, Ontario, at the age of 64 after battling brain cancer. His passing quietly ended a career that had stretched across film, television, and theater for nearly 4 decades. Humphreys never chased the spotlight, yet his steady work left him with an estimated net worth of about $1 million, earned from years of supporting roles that helped shape dozens of films and television productions. David Caruso as Mitch. David Caruso was born on January 7, 1956, in Queens, New York, United States. At 26 years old, he played Deputy Mitch, the only officer who questions the abuse of John RAMBO, in First Blood, 1982. His sympathetic character offered a rare moral voice inside the sheriff's department, hinting that not everyone hunting Rambo believed the violence was justified. His personal life, however, was far more turbulent than the calm image he later projected on television. Caruso married Sherry Moggins in 1979, but the marriage collapsed in 1984 as he struggled to establish himself in Hollywood. He soon married actress Rachel Ticotin, and the couple welcomed a daughter, yet that relationship also ended in divorce by 1987, while Caruso continued appearing in films such as King of New York and Mad Dog and Glory. A third marriage to Margaret Buckley lasted from 1996 until 2007 and produced 2 children, but even after that split, legal battles erupted when former partner Liza Marquez accused him in court of fraud and emotional distress over financial agreements involving their children. Career pressures only intensified the drama. Caruso finally became a star with the series NYPD Blue, winning a Golden Globe, yet he shocked television executives by quitting the hit show after demanding a higher salary. The decision nearly destroyed his career when later films such as Jade and Kiss of Death failed at the box office. Redemption came years later with the massive success of CSY Miami, where his role as Horatio Caine turned him into a television icon known for his sunglasses and sharp one-liners. As of 2026, David Caruso is 70 years old and lives largely away from the spotlight after retiring from acting following the end of CS1 Miami. Instead of Hollywood sets, he now focuses on business ventures and art-related projects while maintaining a quieter life after decades of fame and controversy. His long television career and production ventures have earned him an estimated net worth of about $35 million. David L. Crowley, as Shingleton. David L. Crowley was born around 1945 in Lebanon, before later building his life and career in North America. At about 37 years old, he played Deputy Shingleton, one of the officers assisting Sheriff Teasle during the hunt for Rambo in First Blood, 1982. Though his role was brief, his presence helped strengthen the image of a town's entire police force turning against a single traumatized soldier. But Crowley's life in the industry unfolded quietly compared to the explosive drama on screen. Unlike many actors chasing leading roles, he settled into steady supporting work while building a modest career through television and smaller films. During the 1980s and 1990s, he appeared in shows such as MacGyver, Dallas, and Hill Street Blues, while also landing roles in films like Cocktail and The Gray Fox. Instead of scandal or health crises dominating headlines, Crowley gradually stepped away from Hollywood as the industry changed around him. By the early 2000s, after appearing in television dramas such as The Practice and recurring roles on Babylon 5, he quietly retired from acting in 2004. His disappearance from screens surprised many viewers who remembered his steady appearances across television during the previous 2 decades. As of 2026, David L. Crowley would be around 81 years old if still alive, though very little public information has emerged about his life since leaving the entertainment industry. Over that time, he accumulated an estimated net worth of about $500,000, a modest sum reflecting the life of a working character actor who helped fill the world of countless films and television series before quietly fading from Hollywood. Don McKay as Preston. Don McKay was born on July 8, 1931, in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. At 51 years old, he played Preston, one of the officers involved in the escalating pursuit of Rambo, in First Blood, 1982. His role helped portray the growing tension inside the sheriff's department as the hunt for Rambo spiraled out of control. Behind the scenes, McKay lived a life far removed from Hollywood drama. He married Jessie McKay in 1955, and the couple remained together for decades while raising their 3 sons, Jerry, Peter, and David. Even while maintaining a stable family life, McKay quietly built a long career through supporting roles in films such as Stakeout and later 3,000 Miles to Graceland, along with appearances in television science fiction shows, including The X-Files and Stargate SG-1. His steady work made him a familiar face to audiences, even when few recognized his name. Tragedy struck late in life when his wife Jessie McKay died in 2008, ending a marriage that had lasted more than 50 years. Friends said the loss deeply affected him, and although he continued occasional acting appearances afterward, he gradually stepped back from the industry. In the years that followed, he lived quietly in Canada, far from the film sets where he had spent much of his life. On September 2, 2024, Don McKay died in North Vancouver, British Columbia, at the age of 93. The cause of death was not publicly disclosed. He left behind his children and a long list of film and television credits that stretched across several decades. By the time of his passing, McKay had accumulated an estimated net worth of about $1 million, the result of a lifetime spent working steadily in film and television rather than chasing fame. Charles A. Tamburro as pilot. Charles A. Tamburro was born in 1946, believed to have spent much of his early life around aviation. At about 36 years old, he played the helicopter pilot assisting law enforcement during the pursuit of Rambo in First Blood, 1982. His brief appearance helped drive one of the film's most shocking moments, when the airborne chase suddenly turns deadly and escalates the conflict beyond control. Away from the camera, Tamburro's life revolved around dangerous work rather than Hollywood fame. He spent years as a stunt pilot and aerial coordinator, flying helicopters and performing high-risk aerial sequences in action productions. His reputation grew quietly through films like Terminator 2, Judgment Day, and later True Lies, where helicopter stunts demanded precision and nerves of steel. The real risk of that career never disappeared. Helicopter stunt work is considered one of the most hazardous specialties in film production, requiring pilots to perform low-altitude maneuvers, rapid descents, and explosive stunt sequences. Tamburro continued working in this environment for decades, contributing to large-scale productions such as Gone in 60 Seconds and other Hollywood action projects that relied on skilled stunt pilots. As of 2026, Charles A. Tamburro is believed to be around 80 years old and largely retired from the high-risk world of stunt aviation. Over decades in stunt coordination and aviation work, Tamburro accumulated an estimated net worth of about $2 million. More than 40 years later, the faces of First Blood have changed in ways few fans expected. Some are still here, others are gone, but their performances remain unforgettable. Which Rambo cast member's story shocked you the most? Comment below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Then and Now stories.